Here we're going to go over the basic features and functions of cell DNA. Cell DNA is the big sister, if you will, of our standard cell, and the interface looks very similar, but you'll notice right away in the DNA version, we have a larger clip bank. We have effects knobs, an effects list, and there's some extra functions that you'll go through in different tutorials, multi-screen, networking, and more controls for controllers that have more than just 6 knobs or sliders. So to get started in Cell, it's pretty simple. You select a folder. In this case, I already have my folder selected, but you just press the Browse button and select your folder. Here I have all my refills folder, which are refills that we sell on our website. So I'm just going to go ahead and click into one of the refills folders. Now I have different resolutions here. I'm going to go to a new clip bank, grab a folder, drag it onto the clip bank. You can also drag individual files, so I can go inside that folder, grab a file I want, and drag it in. I can also double click to preview that file, click again to close it. So now I have 37 files. Let me go ahead and grab one more, 38 files. And here you can see I have previews. I click, it automatically crossfades. You can also put it into cut mode. Cut mode allows you to cut between videos rather than crossfade. Your crossfade speed can be set in preferences. I have it now set to half a second, but you can set it to 1 second if you wanted to, and that just changes the speed of the crossfade. You can also save favorites. So if you have a folder, say I always wanted this music video folder available, I just click it here and I click there and it opens my music videos. I click here and it opens my volume 4 videos. You can do as many folders as you want to quickly reference them so you have them at your disposal. So now I have 2 clip banks set up. Here's the default clip bank that comes with the software, and here is a clip bank that we just added. You can also edit a clip bank, so if I wanted to change the sequence of how the clips are set up, press the edit button, grab a clip, put it wherever in the clip bank you want, put it back into trigger mode, and now that file sits down there. You can also sequence a clip bank. So I'm going to go back to the first clip bank here. I'm going to press sequence, and you'll see it'll run through all the files, crossfading from one to the other, and you can set the crossfade time again. You put it in cut mode too if you wanted to just cut from one clip to the next. In the playback controls, you have scrub, which is the duration knob that kind of shows you the remaining time left in the file. Reverse just reverses the video. This is a loop mode. You can put it to loop once or continuous loop. You can adjust the speed right here, slow and fast, and you can also set that speed in the preferences. Here's your crossfader, and this simply, Cell DNA is a 2-channel, but you really don't have individual controls over each channel, so it's basically a 1-channel playback. You can crossfade between the previous clip that you triggered, but it's primarily meant for instant kind of performance where you don't necessarily have an A and a B side. You kind of have a master output and controls to crossfade between 2 different clips. Now, the effects in DNA are a lot different than the effects in Union. They're really simple, pre-designed effects. You can select the effects by selecting any one of these effects in the list. So I'm going to just go ahead and select Explode. And you'll see by moving the knob, it does a wet dry, so it adds the effect to your output. Some of the effects can be multi-layered. Obviously, if I click through, it's going to change the video that's being affected. A lot of these effects are OpenGL, so there's some pretty cool 3D effects. Let's see here. I'm going to go to pipes. This gives a pretty cool pipe effect, and it does some pretty nice 3D effects. One that I really like is Mestronic. Cool effect. All these effects can also be used on a live video feed. Press the video in button. You configure your video input here. I'm using an iSight, so I have mine already configured. And press video in, and it triggers your live camera feed. To get into full screen, press full screen. That's pretty straightforward. If you're on Windows, it'll ask you if you want to resize your display. There's a lot of different driver issues with Windows, so you might want to test that out and see if that works for you. If I wanted to go full screen on this screen I'm using now, open my preferences, go to displays, and select the monitor and press full screen. Now you notice the output size here is pretty small, but that's just a preview. The clips I'm using here are 800 by 600, and the cool thing about DNA is when you go to full screen, it's going to automatically adjust the output to your resolution. So if I'm using 320 by 240, it'll adjust to that. If I'm using 800 by 600, it'll adjust to that. If I'm using HD, it'll adjust to that. Again, performance is going to depend on the kind of machine you're using, but you can see here that 800 by 600 and 320 by 240, they're all playing back really fast on my computer. Here's a master fade to black control, pretty straightforward. Just like the effects, the clips have banks, the effects also have banks. So you can set up the effects that you like here. I'm going to set up my Jumbotron effects here. So I have 3 different controls for Jumbotron effects, and I want those in effects preset 1. I can go to effects preset 2 and select different effects. Metropolis, let's put Mechatronic back on here, and you'll see I have different effects and different effects presets. MIDI Learn is super simple to set up. So if you have any MIDI device, whether it's the ohm controller that we have, or an Oxygen 8, or a MIDI guitar, or any kind of MIDI device really, MIDI Learn is fairly straightforward. First, you're going to just make sure your device is selected in the MIDI input. I have a ohm controller, so I just select that here. I can move my controller and I can see the values in the MIDI SPI. I'm going to go ahead and turn it into MIDI Learn mode. The clip bank and the controls function a little differently. So if I click in the clip bank, you'll notice it turns the desired clip yellow. I press a button on my MIDI controller and it enters the value. So that was note 0, here's note 1, here's note 2, here's note 3. You do the same thing for the effects controls. I'm going to select this knob and assign it to one of the knobs on my ohm. I'm just going to go ahead and do a couple of knobs here. Okay, now press MIDI Learn again to take it off. And you'll see I'm adding my effects here. So it's pretty simple to learn something to a MIDI controller and really instantly do your triggering. I have it on crossfade mode, so I'm automatically crossfading as I'm using my MIDI controller to trigger. Some of the other features that DNA has is multiscreen and network. We'll cover that in a different tutorial, but this is basically, I'll just give you an overview. More controls just gives you more controllers to use, and it also works with MIDI Learn. So you can do the same thing here and learn your extra controls to MIDI knobs. Another extra is multi-screen. This is really useful if you have a triple head to go, or a device that lets you span multiple displays across. It's really simple. You just select the number of displays, and it's going to go ahead and render that and give you that number of displays, and you'd have to resize your output in your preferences, display preferences, to get the size that you want it to stretch across all 4 screens or 3 screens or 2 screens, whatever number you're using. And then you simply select the screen, select the clip, and it changes that screen. And you can also use effects. It's going to span across all your screens here. So you can have some pretty cool features. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back to one screen and open up my networking preferences. This is nice because it allows you to, when you buy Cell, you get, or Cell DNA or Union for that matter, you can authorize it on 3 computers at a time. So you can actually, from one computer, control multiple computers. So if you had multiple screens that you wanted to have multiple computers running, you could simply use one computer to control them all. You press fetch and it'll give you the IP addresses on your network, and you have the same controls that you would with running one version of DNA, but you're actually running multiple versions of DNA. And again, we'll cover that more in another tutorial. For more tutorials and other ways you can use Cell, you can check out our tutorials at lividinstruments.com.